Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to another episode of Open for Discussion. I'm your boy, C. Maurice Ball. And today I have a phenomenal, awesome young lady that I'm speaking with. And when I tell you how we end up getting to this spot, it is like truly a blessing. But she is amazing, an amazing mom, an amazing wife. She is changing the rap game and changing cultures and changing mindset with lyrics that are edifying and pushing people into greatness instead of the stuff that is demeaning and degrading. And we get a chance to hang out and talk with her. So, but before we do, kick that intro. Well. I am introducing to some and presenting to others Miss Akilah
Peace,
NeHanda.
peace.
Woo-wee! I'm gonna tell y'all how blessed I am to be able to be sitting here speaking with her. Now, she has no idea who I am, and and so about 2 years ago, I seen her pop up in my feed. I think it was the Will Smith smack. I think that's
hmm
what was the first one, or it was probably one before that. And I'm sitting, I was like, oh yo, she got some lyrics. She's dope. And so I just kind of followed her and just kind of just on the outside and just liking her stuff. And then she dropped an amazing album, which is you can get. We'll get to that later on in the segment, but she dropped this amazing album that I copped, and every song on there is a banger. And so I just reached out to her one day and said, "Hey, would you mind being a featured guest on my podcast?" And I think it was probably January or February. And I understand people's lives. I'm just the cat that's just trying to just see if people will come on. And I got a response, and I was like, she responded. So I'm telling my wife, like, hey, she responded. And then we kind of went back and forth through emails and we set a date, and here we are. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And I first want to say thank you for reaching out. Thank you for taking that chance. And thank you for what you do. And even though you said, I don't know anything about you, now I do.
Oh,
Now I do. So I appreciate you for all the things that you do and that your family does for the community. And it's really important. And thanks for that intro.
well, it's I see you on Instagram, and I see that y'all doing some kind of farming project, like a neighborhood
Mhm.
farming project. And I'm really and we'll talk about that a little bit later because I know that you have your hands in some other things, but like how is life going for you?
Life is really interesting. I think for me, life is about learning as much as possible. Whenever you are introduced to just different concepts of life and just different experiences, I think that God wants us to look at it as a learning experience and look at it in order for us to evolve. And
Uh-huh.
so for me, I'm in a point in life where I'm realizing that you shouldn't even really stress about too many things because there's always going to be something that goes wrong, per se.
For
And
sure.
so, and so, if we were to focus on um, always trying to combat the things that go wrong at all times, we're going to be stressed all day, every day. You
For
know.
sure.
So what we have to do is combat the inner weaknesses that we have within ourselves so that when those things do present themselves, we aren't thrown off our square. We aren't treating people poorly. We aren't acting other than ourselves. So for me, life is now focusing on how can I best navigate life with a more positive attitude, less attacking the things that I feel are just, oh no, I need this, or, and more so looking within. And so that's kind of where I am now. We are still on tour. So
Uh-huh.
we're actually leaving either tomorrow night or Thursday morning. And we're going to go to Alabama.
What part of
And
Alabama?
we're going to go to Montgomery.
Okay, y'all going deep
And
south.
yeah, so I have a performance out there. I'm a part of a artist development label called Peace Industry Music Group, and we basically are changing the way people see hip hop music and music in general. Black people doing music and bringing back that positivity that we know that hip hop has always brought in the beginning. And so, yeah, we have a performance out there.
You talked about worry. Was worry something that was on your plate as a young person when you were growing up? Was that something that you had to kind of navigate through as a young person, middle school, high school kind of piece?
No, I never really had to worry about anything because my mom was the type of person that took care of everything and was very, I would say, proactive. So because she was so proactive, when I got on my own, that's when I realized, oh wow, there's a lot of things that are not under my control, or there's a lot of things that I have to figure out. And so sometimes, especially financial, you think like, okay, well, how is this going to happen? Or if I want to do more music, or if I want to, have more music videos, or all those things, it's like, okay, now what do I need to do in order to make sure that I'm consistent and all those things? And I think that one of the best things that we can do is just, like I said earlier, is just focus on our self-development, so that we're so involved and so consumed with self-development that everything else would just fall into place when it's supposed to. And so I think that's just the meaning of faith, is a matter
Yeah, for
of,
sure.
yeah, just knowing that you're doing what you can. And I think about like our elders and why they have that disposition of like, oh, it's gonna be all right, baby, And I'm like, oh,
Right,
I'm in my
right.
30s, but I kind of get that. I'm starting to get that. I'm starting to understand why they're just like, you be all right. And I'm just like, what do they know that we don't? So,
Yeah. So I'm 50.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, we was raised different.
Yeah.
We we was raised in. Yeah, you'll figure it out. Oh, you're not dead? Okay, it'll be all right. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you ain't bleeding to death? Okay, you'll be all right. Oh, your teeth were
Mm-hmm.
just still in your head, but they still, you'll be fine. Yeah. So, you drinking out of the rusty water hose? Yeah, you're
you
gonna
you'll
be
be all
okay.
right.
Yeah. You playing under the power lines and in rooms with lead paint? Psh, don't even worry about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, we was raised different, and even those that's older than us, they different. So
Mm-hmm.
so as a young person, are you the youngest of your siblings? Are you the only child?
So I'm an
What?
only child. I'm the first. I'm the first child. My dad has other children, but I grew up as an only child with my mom, and so I've always just been very different. I had a extensive health background where I had to have open heart surgery. I had spinal surgery.
Wow.
So because of that, I've always been somewhat just different and kind of excluded from sometimes, just Not necessarily excluded because I was still involved in everything, but I would always be, hospital visits and stuff like that, but not even in a sick way, but more so just checking on my conditions and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But that was normal for me. But I realize, of course, that that's not a normal thing for the average person. But because of things like that, special circumstances, kind of that's what makes you who you are. So
For sure.
I know for me, I'm very like I enjoy just sitting with the elders, sitting with adults, listening to them talk while other children might opt to go out and play. I'd rather be in the house, listening to wise women talk and stuff. I'll just be sitting there. And so because of that, I've always been very observant about life. And then my mom, she's a avid traveler. She works for the airline, so I traveled all over the world, Asia, Africa, Europe, you name it. So I was able to observe humanity again,
Right.
in
Yeah.
different continents and different countries. And so of course that affects my music, that affects how I see life. I love being around people, listening to people talk. My favorite things to do is not necessarily like I do everything else, like go to the movies, do all that stuff, go to amusement parks and all that, but that's not my favorite things to do. My favorite things to do is talk to people. My favorite thing to do is listening to people. And that's where I get my material for my music is through just observing life and observing people and observing how we handle life and how we navigate. And so I'm always going to have a message in my music because I mean, I'm constantly getting messages.
And you seen life from a perspective that a lot of people your age haven't seen, especially as a young person. As a teenager, if you've already been out of the country and you've already seen some things that while your friends um, have been stuck to their area, to the block or the
Mhm.
surrounding areas, you've been out of the country, and so your vision is different, so that automatically sets you apart and not make you feel in while they're talking about local things, especially younger. You're talking about international stuff, and
Mhm.
can't nobody relate to that.
Right. Yep. So I went to a performing arts high school, a performing arts middle school, and so the people who I went to school with, they were very eclectic and you know artistic, and
Yeah.
so we're all kind of the same in that way. Um, and so the good thing is I never felt, you know, isolated, because artistic people don't care what you've seen, where you've been. It's just, hey, are you gonna do this play? Are you gonna
Right.
write this song? Are you gonna
Right.
snap your fingers?
Right.
They don't care.
Jazz hands.
Yeah, jazz hands, spirit fingers. We're just gonna be jolly people. And so the blessing in that is that I've always just felt very comfortable in who I am, in my skin. I started to wear my scarf because I'm Muslim. I started wearing a scarf in high school on my own. People asking, "Oh, is this your style? Is this, what's is this your religion?" And freshman year, I didn't wear a scarf, but sophomore year, I started wearing my scarf, and then in college at Howard University, I was wearing my scarf, and so people knew me as like the Muslim girl on campus. So I've always been very and also because I was very active, I was in like all the different organizations and so I never shied away from doing things and involving myself in different things because I'm again, like I said, a curious person. I want to know how people are navigating situations, and if there's an organization that I think will be cool to see what it's about, I'm going to join it. And college is a great place to explore just different things, because there's so many different type of people when you go to a university. And even though I went to a historically black college, like black people are not a monolith, so we're all
Right.
kinds of people. We come from all kinds of different backgrounds. It was a lot of people from different countries, and of course different states. So all over the country, you're surrounded by people who, you have the different clubs on there, like the California club, the New York club, the Texas club, and it's just so many different things that you can involve yourself in. And so I was one of the members of the Nation of Islam Student Association, and what we did was we started we relaunched that association on campus, and we actually were the first people to get Minister Louis Farrakhan to speak at Howard University after like years upon years of him being banned from coming to colleges and speaking at colleges. So we broke that as a, I guess, as a band. And then
Uh-huh.
he, after speaking at the college, once we invited him there, he began a new college tour. So I've always been proud to say that we were one of the pioneers of that, to get him to start back touring. And for those who don't know, Minister Farrakhan is the representative, the leader of the Nation of Islam. And so we yeah, we did a lot, but it's just no shocker that I was one of the people who were helping in that, because God, he places me in situations where that he knows that I'll be passionate about it. And
Yeah.
so I'm just grateful that I did have the type of upbringing that I had, because it's all pouring into my social media, my music, and other people get to enjoy what I have experienced in life. And yeah, I just get to showcase it.
So where are you currently residing?
Houston, Texas. That's where I was
Houston.
born.
Houston.
Born and
With
raised Houston, Texas.
the,
Went back.
so with let's see, what are some famous Houston, Texas rappers?
Rappers, Bun B, you got
Pun B,
Paul Wall,
UGK, got
UGK.
Paul Wall, right?
Yep.
Yeah. You got Lecrae. You heard of Lecrae?
Is he from Houston?
I thought he was from Houston.
He might be. I didn't know that.
I know he yeah, so you went from Texas to DC.
Sure did.
What
I have family out there too. My dad's people are from Maryland. And so I have family in DC, Maryland, Virginia. And so that was kind of cool, cuz um it wasn't too strange, cuz I used to go out there to Baltimore to visit my family. And so, yeah.
so it wasn't a culture shock because I got a little homeboy that I mentor now that just graduated last year and he went out to Howard and I told him I was like because where we currently live there is probably in this area 260,000 people in this area and it's probably 12%.
Whoa. Where
And
you
so
at?
I am in I'm in southern Indiana. So if you know geography, so you got Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky that kind of
Mhm.
sit like right here. So right across the bridge from us is Louisville, Kentucky, which is the main city. So we're not in the city. We're across the bridge on the Indiana side. So
Hmm.
and where I currently live, we're 1% where we live
Wow.
at. Yeah, so if you pull up our city's website, guess who are the guess who's the family on there?
It ain't what.
Us.
Oh, it
Right.
is.
We the black family
Oh, you got
on
the
the
token.
you can say that. You can say that. And so so for him going out there it was a culture shock
Yeah.
cuz I'm telling him like, "Bro, you ain't never seen this many melanated people in one place doing excellence."
So he's going from that area and to an HBCU.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I told you there's so many people coming from so many different
So
backgrounds.
many, so many backgrounds. So you're on campus, and I seen your one video. You had the fraternities and sororities on your video,
Yeah,
and
that was
so
my first one.
did you consider pledging? Did you would you do grad chapter? What was your like?
Yeah, so I I I actually pledged Phi Sigma Pi. It's a national honors fraternity.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. You've heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay. How
Yeah.
you heard of it? People
Because it's
never
one
know.
here.
Oh,
It's
okay,
it's
okay.
yeah.
Well,
It's
yeah.
at the community college. There's a chapter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because usually, but see, you did say it's not a lot of melanated people where
Oh,
you are, and that's not necessary. That's not necessarily a melanated fraternity.
for sure. It is definitely not.
But at Howard, it is.
Really.
And so, yeah. And so it's interesting because I wanted to do like if I and it's funny because last night I had a dream that I was pledging Delta, which is so funny that you asked me that. And so, but anyways, no, I only pledged Phi Sigma Pi, and that was a very interesting pledging process, what I tell you. So Howard University, we just call it a Hayes College
Well,
because it's
non-hazing
like you
organizations.
but yeah, but
Yeah.
non-hazing organization.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was very interesting. But I'm glad it happened because that situation is what took me from being very nonchalant about things to speaking up about everything. So I was already the type of person that would speak up about, political issues and all of that, or, um, social issues, social injustice, and all that type of stuff. That wasn't a problem, but because I was such a, I guess you could say, confident, secure person, if people would try to disrespect me or, just especially in college, when you're in those type of situations where you have big brother little brother situations, and it's known to, the disrespect is like um it's literally cultural, that's just what you do when you're pledging anything. But even with that, it's like I realize that as I'm getting older, because like in college you're like a teenager going into your 20s. And so what I'm realizing is that although that was a glimpse of, you know, how you get initiated into something, but sometimes that's also how people try to play you in real life,
Yeah.
you know. And so what happened is that experience, my pledging experience, taught me that even though you're secure, even though you really don't care if people cross you and all that type of stuff, you just kind of ignore it because oh, well, I'm just not going to deal with that person. Sometimes it's best to step up, and sometimes it's best to speak up, if you feel a certain way. And so that's what I learned from my experience pledging Phi Sigma Pi, is that it's best sometimes to just speak up for yourself.
For
You know
sure.
what I mean? Stand up for yourself. And so now, if anything happens where, if anything, if, if, uh, if something were to happen and and I feel a certain way about it, I'm just going to say it right then and there. I'm no longer passive,
Yeah.
passive aggressive or whatever. I'm just now I just speak right then and there. And so that changed the trajectory of that part of my life. So I'm very grateful for it. Learned the hard way, but it was very needed, because now navigating in the space of doing music and going into the industry, you gotta speak up for yourself. You gotta, you know what I mean? And so I understand why it was important to follow through and go through with that process. So yeah, that was my first video on campus, was my first music video. At first I was more so a singer, but then
Uh-huh.
that was the year Nicki Minaj came out with her mixtape. It was like while I was in college, her mixtape was becoming popular, and I saw the direction that hip hop was going as far as like that image and everything. And I was like, well, I want my own representation of the women that I'm accustomed to in that rap space. And I didn't see it. So I said, well, I have to start rapping. And so
Yeah.
I started to change the the lyrical melodies to rap lyrics. And so I've always written my own stuff. And so I started, just writing my own rhymes. And it's not a big transition, because if you can write songs, you can write raps, in my opinion.
So you went to Howard. What was your
Yes.
major?
Film production.
Film
I know.
production.
That's why I was asking you about the camera and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Film production. That that's awesome. Did you
Hmm.
finish with a degree in film
I
production?
did. I did.
That is that is awesome.
I did.
What year did you graduate?
2012. 2012. Yeah. Because I went in
Oh, like
oh 08.
yesterday.
Huh?
Like yesterday.
Right.
2012. Yeah, it's like yeah, yesterday.
Yeah. Sure. Hmm.
Well, that's pretty cool. So, in your journey, what was what was a breaking point for you in life where you were almost ready to tap out? I ain't talking about music. I'm talking about just in general. What is something that in your life that challenged you and pushed you to the breaking point where you was like, okay, this is not good, and I'm at
Hmm.
the edge with my toes on the edge, about to hang over like this. And the only thing that's keeping me is that I got that kung fu grip toes on the edge. What is something in your life that had you at that breaking point?
I would say when I got married. So for me, being being in the Nation of Islam, and being very, very, I guess you could say, Islam driven. It's like meeting my husband, him not being a registered member of the Nation of Islam. That was very different. It took a lot when it came to my mom accepting that, and um, that was just that was very difficult. Me and my husband met April 29th, 2018. We were married by October 29th, 2018. Yeah.
April, October.
Yep, same
Okay.
year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I,
and it wasn't even on purpose to get married on the same like day, like the 29th. It just, life happens where I always say that God does that on purpose because he knows that I forget dates. And so like things have to fall into certain days or I won't remember.
uh,
So I just think that's really why, you know, April 29th, October 29th. Because if it wasn't, I'd be like, I don't remember. So and even with,
so 6 months.
yeah, and even with my daughter, we had her the next year, October. She was due the 27th, but we had her October 22nd. But I was thinking to myself, again, if it wasn't a number that I will remember, it wouldn't, I'd be like, when's her birthday? And so again, I think God did that on purpose. I'm not I was actually surprised she didn't come October 29th on
That would
our
have been awesome,
anniversary.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, like on our anniversary, but I guess she was like, I want my own day. So yeah, yeah, so I think that my marriage challenged me. And it wasn't in a way of like, oh no, what, it wasn't a challenge when it came to belief. It was more so a challenge of understanding that we can agree on principles and we can agree on those type of beliefs, and how I had to really I had to really stretch my mind and my heart to understand that that's a possibility, because he was raised Christian, and honestly my whole family's Christian, so that's not a big, but it's a matter of understanding that we can cohabitate, and I can still be Muslim. He can still identify as what he identifies as. But that was very difficult mentally because we have just different um, ways that we do things, different
Right.
ways, different eating habits, and
Right.
so all of those things navigating into a marriage. People always say your first year of marriage is usually difficult anyway. So imagine coupling that with like a culture shock of like being like, man, I thought I was going to marry somebody, who I could relate to in so many different ways. But it's like me and my husband, we relate in other ways. He's a DJ, he comes from a family that is very family oriented and all these different things. He was a theater person. So we have a lot of similarities, and he's very, very relaxed, like laid back when it comes to his disposition about life is very like go with the flow, like all the other artistic people that I grew
Yeah.
up with. So it's not, so we click in that way, but there's a side of me that's very militant. There's a side of me that's very like things need to be this way or it's wrong.
Right.
You're wrong and all that stuff. And when you go into a marriage being that way, you're always gonna feel like, yeah, no,
Oh,
this is
for sure.
hard. Yeah. So
It's
I had
already
to.
you're already taking two to become one. And then if you have no examples on what a wife looks like or what a husband looks like, then you're piecing it together and you're just going off of your own internal piece,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so like for me, I've been married 21 years. We kind of got the same story as far as how we met. We met in September, got engaged in November, was married in May. So I understand.
Wow.
I understand the movement of that. Now, do I
Right.
recommend people do that? No. You got to
Yeah.
be in a place spiritually and know that you know that you know that God is telling you to do it. Um,
Mhm.
and 21 years later, we are here, and so our examples of marriage growing up was not good examples. Like everybody in my family, marriage was divorce
Mhm.
or those side pieces, right? So
Mm.
so I look at marriage and I see everybody that's married in my family, men, women, everybody got a side piece.
Wow.
So that was the definition of marriage. For her, marriage was divorce. So you
Mm.
taking two people who have a broken, we have the same word, but we have different definitions.
Yeah.
And now it's processing into the definition. And so I can only imagine y'all coming from a spiritual line in the sand, and all the pushback that you got from everybody around you and probably
Yeah.
pushback that he got. Here's a question to that though. How important do you believe being delivered from people is in your process? Or how important do you believe being delivered from people during your process?
That was really important. When you say deliver from people, it's like you're talking about their opinions.
Yeah.
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 So that was very important. Again, just like I said, how in college that experience pledging Phi Sigma Pi helped me to speak up for myself. I would say me getting married to someone who I didn't expect, my community didn't expect, and all that stuff. What that taught me is what you said, being delivered from, people's opinions. So,
Mhm.
um, going from being very careful to making sure that I serve my community, that I'm a exemplary example for my community and for the girls in my community, to marrying someone that my community is like, well, why didn't you, why did you choose that or whatever? and even though they might not have outwardly saying that, I'm a part of the community, so I know what they're thinking, and I know that, and I know what's being said somewhat behind closed doors. So going through that was very pivotal as well. That's something that was also needed. It's like the hardest moments of your life, I'm realizing that it's to teach you a lesson about either standing up for yourself, caring for yourself more, or in that case, like you call it, being delivered from people. It's to get closer to God and
For
what is
sure.
he saying,
Uh-huh.
and getting closer to, well, you came into the world by yourself, you're leaving by yourself. So how are you going to navigate if you're saying one thing and everybody else is saying something else? Are you going to just go with what everybody else is saying because of the culture, or are you going to go with how God is directing your unique experience here on this earth? And so I do believe that everyone has a unique experience, and so sometimes while we are so used to our communities and our villages and doing whatever they want us to do and what we want to do, as far as what we're used to, our comfort zone, sometimes God, he has a specific um he has a specific direction that he wants you to
For
take,
sure.
because there's something that he's trying to get out of you particularly, that it wouldn't have happened any other way. You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
so it's something innate within me knew that once I started learning the lessons that I was learning in my marriage, I knew I wasn't going to learn those type of messages any other way.
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
because if I was, there's different, and again, we are not monoliths, so like there's going to be different people even in your faith that are just completely just whoa different, right? And so it's not about necessarily being different, but it's about navigating the the root of like how you see the world and their background, and how they navigate their beliefs and how they think and all of that. So for me, I just knew like the things that I was dealing with, it just wouldn't be that. It would be something else that I would have to learn, but the type of lessons that I'm learning in my marriage is very necessary for me to humble me in a lot of ways. And I think that's what marriage is about, is,
Yes.
you will be
Yeah.
humbled.
For sure, 100%. Definitely. It is a refining process. It does two things. It when God proposes a challenge to the marriage, it creates this friction, and this friction can break or it can mend. So,
Mm,
and it's designed to mend, and it's designed for us to let go of the things that are keeping us from mending and becoming one. But because it's those things we've been living with, those things we grew up with, those are things that become part of our identity, how we identify ourselves, what we look at, and we choose those things sometimes over choosing to become one. And
mm,
those are the things that he desires to for us to let go of. And like, even though we've been married 21 years, it is, we still are growing and developing, and uh still trying to figure each
mm,
other out, because the person that I was last year, I'm different. The person that she was last year, she's different. And so
mm,
so now it's adjusting to the newness, the growth, that growth that happens, and being able to accept that growth and say, oh, okay, this is the new portion of who I am, and this is the new portion of who you are, and being able to accept that and not get mad at those pieces.
right.
So I totally I totally get it. You know, 21 years in the game, and
Ooh, that's a
you
blessing.
know, eh, everyone. And sometimes we was on the wing of the prayer for this thing. It's like, boy, the wind blow the wrong way. We out.
Yep.
Peace. You know,
Yep.
so
Yep.
so
We're going on
I
6 years.
definitely get it. I definitely get it. So when you process through that, you become what was it like when you I know you said you got some time, you got to leave here shortly. So I'm a curve these questions real quick, just but I don't
It's
want to
okay.
rush.
I can answer more.
Okay. Um what was it like when you started to transition, when you started to get that traction on being visible? What what shifted in you? What things did you have to shift as far as being a wife, as far as being a mother, your commitment to your religion? What were the things that you had to kind of now navigate through as far as putting the pieces in place as you start to gain this fame and be more visible?
So I've always been really like in the forefront of a lot of things. And so because of that, that wasn't a big shift for me. Always being on stages, doing musical theater and, always on stage and always, people knew me as a theater person, always performing. And so that was always something that I already was accustomed to. I've been on just different news programs and whatnot growing up, going to the Shape Community Center here in Houston, Texas. They would always have me be like the representative whenever we would have to talk about our freedom tour that we do, where we go to the different cities in the United States and we visit all like the civil rights landmarks and stuff like that. So I would be the spokesperson. So I was used to being on camera, used to being on stage, and then but of course social media kind of changed the game. So my husband, we met. I was on the stage. He was the DJ. So he met me in my element and I met him in his element. So
Mm.
that wasn't a transition. And of course, Neilani, my daughter, she was born into it. So she she was some of the videos you could see her dancing in the background, as a
Yeah.
baby. So she's used to it. Now it's funny, she thinks that I'm on the stage for everything. So if we're going to an event, she's like, "Are you performing? Are you going to be on the stage? Like, are you speaking? Like, is this for you?" And I'm just like, "No, this isn't for me." But so she's so used to it now. She's expecting me to always be on the stage. But social media, um during the pandemic is when I started to be more consistent with posting my videos. And so Dr. Boyce Watkins, he's a financial mogul. He saw my videos and he wanted to team up and like put out my videos with he just wanted to I guess you could say share my videos because he has a bigger platform.
Uh-huh.
So when he started to share my videos, they started to become more viral. And then of course, because I would talk about hot topics that were going on, I would do a 1 minute rap about hot topics that I had an opinion about. And my opinion was always like the opinion that a lot of people had, but it wasn't being showcased. And so when I would do that, it would go viral. So my music would always go viral on social media. And so my following grew a good amount, especially with that Will Smith slap video. um, it blew my TikTok up. So
Yeah.
now I have over 100,000 followers on TikTok. And so a lot of people, they're ready for just a different perspective. They're ready for a different look.
For sure. For sure. When it comes to music, excuse me, my nose is running. When it
Mhm.
comes to music, I've always kind of had some go tos for my son. Like, there's a group of like Lecrae has a group of artists that we just followed since my
Mhm.
son was younger, and being able to put that positive music in his, like, I listen to Lecrae, I listen to KB, Eddie B. It's these are guys that are lyrically sound and have good content. And so I let him listen to your joint, and he was like, I mess with that dad. I mess with that dad. I'm like, oh, okay, son. Um, it's like cool, cool. Mate. Am I still cool? Because I'm, so yeah, I believe like what you're doing. Let's talk about your album. Like, what
Mhm.
was the process of that, and how did you come? There's a couple of songs on one, particularly the 10 p.m. song, like my how I met my wife. She's like, don't call me after 10, and I was
So y'all can
like,
relate.
okay. I called her a quarter to 11. Uh,
Oh
th-
Lord.
um,
Mm-mm-mm.
what like how was that creative process in creating your album?
So I have been doing a lot of different songs. I had a lot of songs in the vault. So if you notice the mixtape if you go to my website, akilasworld.com, which is on his screen, that
And let's
mixtape is
see.
called Almost Threw It Away. So the reason why it's called Almost Threw It Away is because those songs were already recorded. I just never put them out. And so it was years upon years of doing songs and then not necessarily feeling like I'm completely finished with it or trying to see like, oh, I could probably add something to it or whatever. So they were just sitting there. And so there's this one sister, uh, she's her name's Cliche, and going back to what you were saying with the whole gardening project, right? So I'm a part of a group called ARC, Artists Respecting Communities. And so we go and do a lot of community service in Houston. And one of the things that we're doing is we do have a garden that we're, doing is actually we're supposed to be meeting today. And just tilling it and preparing the garden and all that stuff. But I met her and she had a mixtape and she was just selling her mixtape. And I was thinking to myself, like, I need money and I know I probably have enough music to put on a mixtape. Like, why am I not? Because in my mind, like, I think albums, I don't think mixtape. I think, like, oh, I can't put out a mixtape because it's music that's already, it's that I don't own and all that stuff. So, but in truth, like you can put out mixtapes. You can you can sell mixtapes. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a situation where you can't just, make some money off of what you have. So right when I saw that, I said, you know what, I'm about to go into my computer and just see what songs that I have that I would be able to put on a mixtape. I had so many songs. Like I was shocked.
So you got a part two coming out.
Oh yeah, I have to put more on there because I want my part two to be the 1 minute songs that I post on social media.
Okay.
Because a lot of people love those songs. A lot of people love like even the Will Smith slap. So that would be on the next. You know what I mean? Because even though they're 1 minute, those are the songs that people knew me from.
Yeah.
So I've actually had somebody ask like, "Are you going to put your freestyles on a mixtape one day?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put those on because there's so many of them. It'll be like 25 of those on a CD."
Well, I mean, but you got some amazing content. And I'm going to talk about this album real quick. Every song on here is dope, and I
Thank
mean
you.
they are. You got a song where you diss Santa. I'm all for it. I, I'm
Yes.
I'm I'm all for dissing Santa, and
Yeah, we
you
actually
got
did. We have a music video for that. If y'all go on YouTube, we have a music video and we literally go caroling. So we go to different people's houses and we knock on the door and we ask if we could sing that diss song. And some of them say yeah.
cool. I would love to see that video. I'm gonna check it out. Unbothered too is a banger. I
hmm
I like Unbothered, and so y'all like check her out at akilasworld.com. And let me put up the website so y'all can at least know what it looks like. So y'all go check her album out. Spotify. She's on Spotify. She's Instagram, TikTok. Go check her out. Go get into her spaces. Show up at her when she pulls up in your area. Show up and support her concert. So if you ever come into anywhere, you come to Indianapolis, Cincinnati, you go to Louisville, anywhere in that area, those are 2 hours away. We in the building. We coming to support.
Nice.
um I so at any time I have a lot of people that have kids that listen to music. Y'all need to buy this album for real. It's clean, it's dope, the beats are banging, the features are good. She is a very talented, creative lyricist, and I rock with it 110%. She is phenomenal, and y'all need to go ahead and pull her up. And um, so you are on, I think this
I'm on all the
is that,
platforms.
yeah, so that's your TikTok,
Yes.
and this is, I think, your Apple Music.
Apple Music. That, yeah, that album is called Paradigm.
Okay, and then that is Spotify right here.
hmm
And so y'all go check her out on everything that she's on, and really, really support her because she's doing some amazing things, and she's a change agent within the community, and she's back, and she takes this and takes her music, and she's projecting positivity. Which, if we look at the rap game right now and we look at the examples that are out here, I'm not gonna say any of their names, but the examples are not really good examples for young women to be able to follow. So you have somebody right here that is positive, that is doing things the right way, and that's wholesome. And as she says in one of her songs, I ain't got to show all that other stuff. You
hmm
know, I can I can do what I do and still be a beast
hmm
and keep my dignity. So
Right.
she is doing some amazing things. So I have one last question.
Okay.
This is the last question, and it's an introspective question. What is something that you didn't pay attention to when you were growing up that you had to learn the hard way?
Humility. So again, like thinking that you're humble, thinking that you don't have, thinking that you're not judgmental, and then realizing that, and marriage teaches you everything really. But realizing that you have to focus more on yourself, and that is what's going to uplift the community. So instead of necessarily pointing out all of the things that need to be corrected first, because you feel like, well, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing, like, I'm not smoking, I'm not drinking, I'm not partying, I'm not doing this, so I have the right to um tell you what you should start working on. And so it's like, but in truth, I've learned that the best teacher is to be an example, lead by example. So that's the lesson that I've learned. That's why I started off talking about, not worrying so much, because if we spend more time cultivating ourselves, then all of our worries, even our worries and concerns about those who are close to us, our family, our friends, who you feel could do better, who you feel um, might even be going in a different direction. If we turn that energy inward and start being an example and not shying away from being around those people per se, but showing them your light so that it can be that thing that pulls them maybe from going into that direction.
For
That's
sure.
how we have a better effect on people, because the older we get, the less impressionable, you know, it is just to talk about what someone should do. So when you're little, you can, if your friends say, "Hey, come over here, come to the mosque, come to the party, come to this, come to that, and children are gonna come, because
Right.
children are more impressionable with speech and hey, let's do this, let's do that, they're going to do it. But as you get older, you can't rely on invites and hey, you should stop doing this or you should stop doing that. Like an adult will be like, if you don't get out my face.
Right. Right.
Versus so
Right.
that angle you can't take anymore. You know what I mean? You can't take that approach. So, what approach can you take if you feel like your community is falling? What type of approach will you take if you feel like your marriage or your husband, your wife is doing something you want them not to do or whatever? What type of approach do you take? You can't just, because that's going to go in one ear, out the other. We have to be examples. We have to be light givers. So that's what I learned.
For sure. That's a that's a tough lesson. That is a tough lesson. And when you talk about worry is one of those things that ages you. Worry creates health issues.
Mm.
Worry makes you restless.
Mm-hmm.
Um, worry worry calls you not to be settled.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, because there's always something. There's going to always be something. There's going to you hope for the best. If it, the saying is hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Mm-hmm.
That way you got the spectrum covered.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of us don't do that, and worry kicks in and worry settles in, and then worry will have you acting, riding an emotional roller coaster and reacting to certain situation instead of being proactive. Like you said, your mom was very proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So worry causes you to be more reactive in situations and instead of proactive, or unless you're one of those real worriers where you just overplan everything,
Yeah.
and then you take the fun out of life, and it's like,
Yeah.
so I take that, and I hear what you're saying, even to some of the things I got to apply with what I'm doing in my life. And um there's no age limit to being able to still add pieces to your growth.
Oh yeah.
So and life is a constant learning lesson. You will always be evolving. The moment you stop learning is the moment that you start dying. So as long as you keep putting keep growing and keep moving yourself into a better version of yourself, you should be okay. And let the stuff that you can control it. Stuff that you can't, let it do what it's gonna do.
That's right.
Cause your worry ain't gonna make the situation change one way or the other.
Right. That's the kicker.
Yeah, it's like you done gave yourself an ulcer, and the situation ain't even changed. It's
Still
like,
there.
dang, now I gotta go to the doctor. Got to worry about the ulcer down. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Now you
So
got
I
two
just
things to worry about.
so yeah, that is so I appreciate you pulling up. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I am really honored and grateful that you decide to do that. You got anything else you want to say to the people before we drop it like it's hot?
Just make sure that for the people who complain about the music industry and complain about the type of music that's out there, hip hop or whatnot, make sure you're supporting the people who are actually combating that. Make sure you're supporting those who have positive lyrics. So instead of focusing on the darkness, focus more on the light. That's it.
You heard it here first. You've been here with C. Maurice Ball and Miss Akilah. Guess what? I love you like a play cousin, and I'm out.
Hey.
Peace.